Hello, everyone. This is Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and today I'm here to do a very brief video. And because it's so brief, and because I want to use my computer to show you what I need to show you, I figured I would just start at the computer so that we could just jump right in. And what I want to do today is show you the difference between the A, the B, and the C speech. So I'm going to share my screen now, and then I'm going to slowly go through the criteria so that it makes absolute sense. So what we have here is the criteria for the A, B, and C speech. And I always start out by showing this to my students so that they are very clear about what they're signing up for. So let's start with the B speech, because I find that the B speech is really very clear. And once you understand what the B speech does, then you can understand the C, and then you can understand the A speech. Now, the B speech deals with a challenging topic, and that's the first thing that you must keep in mind. And I believe college students understand what the word challenging means, because you all have challenging courses. It's the opposite of easy. It's the opposite of popular. It's the opposite of the usual. It means that for you to prepare it, it's more than you just sitting down one day and saying, okay, let me talk about, and you draw the first thing down because you like it, and then you talk about it. It's not that. If you do that, it's not a challenging topic. And to be very honest with you, to come up with a challenging topic, it usually takes a bit of time, a bit of brainstorming, and it will involve research. So if you can sit down and talk about a challenging topic without consulting any resource, it's not going to be a challenging topic. It's not going to be. So it has to be a challenging topic. It must fulfill all major functions of a speech introduction and a conclusion. So you will grab attention, and you will grab attention by reeling your audience in, not by one sentence. One sentence will never be enough. And then however you started in your introduction, your conclusion will be that tie that brings it together. It will also display clear organization of main points and supporting materials. So when your audience listens, they must know that this was a main point and this was how you supported it. And you must support it a variety of ways, not just with examples. Sometimes you will have to make the point by contrasting the point against something else. Or you may have to do an extended definition, or give an extended example, or use narration, or do comparison and contrast. But it has to be clearly organized, and the method of organization needs to not be the simple and the simplistic way of giving examples. Examples are basic. The next thing that a B speech should have is that it should support the main points with evidence that meets the test of accuracy, relevance, objectivity, and sufficiency. So sufficiency means it has to be enough. Whatever you say has to be sufficiently supported. I should not be able to say, well, you said ABC, but what about DEF? Because if I can ask you about DEF, it means that you haven't considered all the possibilities. The next thing, objectivity. It has to be obvious that it's not just what you think, but you have looked at all sides of the coin. You also have to exhibit proficient use of connectives, transitions, internal previews, internal summaries, and signposts. If those words are unfamiliar, look in your textbook and those words will be explained. It basically means when you're saying things like, I've just told you about A, now let me tell you about B. In addition to, let us contrast it with, nevertheless, consequently. It's using the different signposts so that people in the audience can follow you, that they will know, okay, you're going here, you're going there, and you're using all the words to tell them where to go with you. And then the next thing is, it should be delivered skillfully enough so as to not distract attention from the speaker's message. Now, sometimes students, they have a nervous tick that's distracting. So sometimes people end up looking on the tick and they don't focus on the speaker. Or they walk a lot, or they jingle, they have their hands in their pockets. So you have to deliver the B speech skillfully so as to not distract attention from your message. Now, I will tell you that the B speech is not an easy speech to do. Because sometimes, even when the topic is challenging, the other parts are not fulfilled. So it therefore means you have to do a lot of work to ensure that it comes out as a B speech. Now, if you want to move from the level of the B speech to the A speech, which is considered a superior speech, then you have to have all of the things of the B speech, plus you have to contribute to the knowledge or beliefs of the audience, which means that the audience does not understand or know enough about your topic. And you are going to add to their knowledge or to their beliefs. Let me say that again. A genuine contribution, okay? So if you decide to talk about health and fitness, it will never be an A or a B speech. If you decide to talk about productivity, it will never be an A or a B speech. If you decide to talk about meditation, if you're just going to talk about like the benefits of meditation, it will never be an A or a B speech. If you decide to talk about habits and you decide to refer to James Clear's habits, that is never going to be an A or B speech, unless you were to talk about something like how to change your habits by changing your identity, because not even James Clear himself emphasized that. He spoke about 3 types of ways to change habits. He spoke about habits, and he spoke about outcome, process, and he mentioned that the best way was to change your identity, but he spent very little time talking about identity, because that actually is the hardest one. Joe Dispenza, however, in his book, How to Break the Habits of Being Yourself, he dealt with that quite fully. Now, if you were to deal with that, which is not popular, that could be an A speech, because that's very challenging. And you would have to incorporate research from James Clear, Joe Dispenza, and that other man. There are 2 other men who are known for, 2 other researchers who are known for their research on habits. By the time this video goes up, I'll find the names and I'll have the name on the screen, their names on the screen. If you were going to look at it and you're going to incorporate all of their work, that could be an A speech. But you have to pull together, draw everything together from different sources in order to contribute to the knowledge and beliefs of the audience. You have to think in terms of intersectionality, where you have to bring together different subjects from different areas in order for it to be an A speech. Now, it also needs to sustain positive interest among the audience, which means that your introduction will be brilliant, but your body will be brilliant, and your conclusion also will be brilliant. And then you have to deliver it in a polished, fluent manner that strengthens the impact of the message. So it means that the message is already powerful, but on top of it, bam, you make it even more polished. Now, I'm going to suggest that you watch my video on failure, which was, I think that was more or less a B topic, a B speech topic, which I delivered in an A speech manner. Not trying to blow my own horn, but if you look at the way I paused, and if you look at the delivery, you'll understand what I mean by the impact of the message. Now, like I said, seriously, this really wasn't something I had even rehearsed. One of my students was talking about failure, and I said, let me also talk about failure. And I really did not put a lot of effort into it. But even though I didn't, I thought this was something I knew enough about. I never really had to prepare for it. But it had such an impact, and it resonated with people so much that out of the blue, somebody hit me up on Instagram and asked me to come on their podcast and talk about failure. So I realized it was powerful when I got that feedback. But that is considered a superior speech. So when you get a chance, I'm going to ask you to have a look at that video if you want. So that's the A speech. And therefore the C speech now isn't going to have any of the things I just spoke about. It can still be organized well. It should still be organized well, because if it's not organized well, it's going to be a D or an E speech. So it has an identifiable introduction, body, conclusion. It shows competence in delivery. It is free of errors in grammar, punctuation, and word usage. And it conforms to the assigned topic. And it conforms to the assigned type of speech. And it has an outline, it has visuals, all of that. But it is not a challenging topic. So I always like to tell students to make the choice. Make the choice and decide on what you want. Because the grade you want will be determined first by your topic choice, though not only your topic choice, but that's where it starts. So you need to decide on what you want it to be. It's always your choice. And the next thing I want to do is to explain why it is that when you contribute to the knowledge and beliefs of people, it's considered an A speech. I want to explain why. Now, if you look at Chris Anderson's explanation of what it takes to have a good speech, you will understand what I'm talking about, because he spoke about what happens in the brain in terms of the neurons. Now, let's have a look at that little portion of his YouTube video.
They're literally beginning to exhibit the same brainwave patterns. And I don't just mean that they're feeling the same emotions. There's something even more startling happening. Let's take a look inside Haley's brain for a moment. There are billions of interconnected neurons in an impossible tangle. But look, here, right here, a few million of them are linked to each other in a way which represents a single idea. And incredibly, this exact pattern is being recreated in real time inside the minds of everyone listening. That's right. In just a few minutes, a pattern involving millions of neurons is being teleported into 1,200 minds just by people listening to a voice and watching a face. But wait, what is an idea anyway? Well, you can think of it as a pattern of information that helps you understand and navigate the world. Ideas come in all shapes and sizes, from the complex and analytical to the simple and aesthetic. Here are just a few examples shared from the TED stage. Sir Ken Robinson, creativity is key to our kids' future.
My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status.
Laura Hardy, building from bamboo is beautiful.
It is growing all around us. It's strong. It's elegant. It's earthquake resistant.
Chimamanda Adichie, people are more than a single identity.
The single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete.
Your mind is teeming with ideas, and not just randomly. They're carefully linked together. Collectively, they form an amazingly complex structure that is your personal worldview. It's your brain's operating system. It's how you navigate the world. And it is built up out of millions of individual ideas.
Okay, so you saw what he said about the activity in the brain. Now I want you to also reflect on what I showed you in this video, where I spoke about what happens in the brain when there is new content. When you go to a new class, or you hear a new presentation, or you hear a presentation about a new subject, your brain doesn't yet have a pathway. So think of your brain as being a forest. It's bushy, okay? But when you learn something new, the neurons begin to make a pathway in your brain. And the more you learn and the more you understand the subject, the deeper the pathway becomes and the stronger the connections are. So when you know about a subject, you have a pathway in your brain already. If you talk about something like health and fitness, and people know about health and fitness, you are not clearing a pathway because the pathway has already been made. So it's nothing new. So it's not lighting up the brain. But if you talk about something and your brain is in that state where it is bushy and it never heard about it before, what you will find is that the neurons begin to light up and dance and say, oh, this is new. Oh, I don't know this. And that's the impact on your brain. It starts to get activated and a pathway begins to be made. Now, until you make that pathway, your brain is dead. There is nothing there. But once you start talking and once you start contributing to people's knowledge, then the grooves begin to develop. And that's why it's considered an A speech, because you have moved someone from not knowing to knowing. And the reason that that is so profound is because you have moved someone from unconscious incompetence where they didn't even know that they didn't know. And then you've moved them up to either conscious incompetence, where you've taught them something and they still don't know enough, they can't practice it, but at least you've taught them. Or you've moved them up to conscious competence, where they're proficient, but they still need feedback or help. Or you've moved them from unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence. And that is why the A speech gets all the glory, because you've moved someone from no knowledge to more knowledge, and you've caused the brain to light up as TED speakers do. So I hope you've learned from this, and I hope this makes sense. So going forward, I want you to think in terms of the A, B, and the C speech, and I want you to be mindful of your choice, and I want you to take responsibility for the choice you make. So until I see you soon, this is Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.